Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Trevor Williams with Global Atlanta, and I'm here to welcome you to today's webinar on Taiwan, Innovation, Investment, and the Future of U.S. Trade in Asia. We very much appreciate you being here. We're trying to get started as on time as possible and jump right into our conversation. I'm going to ask my fellow speakers if y'all might keep your videos off for now, as we're going to launch into the video remarks first, the recorded remarks. So Dr. Tsai and Dr. Wang, if you might turn your video off, we'll preserve some bandwidth and also help people be able to focus on the video. This webinar today is being presented by the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Atlanta, along with Global Atlanta, with support from organizations such as the Mont Jade Society of the Southeast Chapter, Metro Atlanta Chamber, and the Atlanta Global Studies Center, which is allowing us to make use of their Blue Jeans platform today. So we really appreciate that. And thank y'all for joining. I know that we've had to jump through a few hoops to get through to the program, but we're excited to have you all here and to have our full complement of people joining. Just as a reminder, again, Dr. Wang, if you could, I'm not sure if you can mute your video, that would be helpful. But we've got, just to give us a little bit of a background on why we decided to do this. Taiwan, obviously, throughout the COVID-19 crisis, has had exemplary performance in tackling the pandemic, and really that's helped Taiwan tell its story to the world about being a responsible stakeholder in the global economy, an essential node in the manufacturing world, and also a thriving democracy. And it seems that over the past few years, the political landscape of U.S.-Taiwan engagement has shifted quite a bit, and that there's been an opening of sorts in engagement. We'll talk about that in the coming moments. Taiwan has, like I said, always been seen as a central node in the electronics manufacturing sector, but I think as the world tries to work out what the future looks like in terms of the trade in technology and the way technology is impacting national security concerns and trade tensions, I think Taiwan has a very interesting role to play in that conversation. So we're going to talk about some of that. To start, I'm going to try to be as brief and as quick as possible. I'm not going to give too many flowery introductions because we have an hour. We want to get to as much content as we can. A quick note on just from the audience perspective, at the bottom of your screen, you'll be able to slide the video back and forth. When there are presentations or videos, you'll be able to make it larger or smaller. You also have the ability, should have the ability at the bottom of your screen to control the view. So you should be able to view all the presenters at once or just one speaker. That's something that you have the flexibility to do on your end. So to start us off, we're going to have some recorded remarks from Bob Rolfe, who's the Commissioner of the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development. Commissioner Rolfe, you might be wondering why we have a Tennessee representative on a Global Atlanta event. Well, it should be evident from his remarks, but to make it a short answer, Tennessee, the TECO office here in Atlanta covers the entire Southeast, but also Tennessee has some strong Taiwanese companies and is home to an innovator that you'll hear from in just a few moments, Dr. Peter Tsai, who invented the material that's going in the N95 masks, respirator masks that we've all been seeing and wearing, as the case may be. So I'm going to have Shebnam cue up the video for Commissioner Rolfe, and then we'll jump back in with the economic minister's recorded remarks after that. Shebnam?
Good morning. My name is Bob Rolfe, and I proudly serve as the Commissioner of Economic and Community Development for the state of Tennessee. On behalf of Governor Lee, we say welcome to today's webinar focused on innovation, investment, and a great partnership between Taiwanese companies and the great state of Tennessee. ECD's role is to recruit great global brands to our state, creating great jobs, family wage jobs for companies and for employees. Today, ECD has 6 foreign direct investment representatives across 11 countries in Europe and Asia. Even before the pandemic, Tennessee was well known to a terrific scientist and inventor named Dr. Peter Tsai, who invented the material inside most N95 respirators. Well, the great news is approximately 1 year ago, Dr. Tsai came out of retirement and he created a new partnership with the University of Tennessee and the Oak Ridge National Lab to solve this shortage that was created by the pandemic. Today, 8 Taiwanese companies call Tennessee home. Last year, Tennessee exported about $194 million of goods to Taiwan, and more importantly, the state of Tennessee imported over $2.2 billion of Taiwanese goods to our state. So to Minister Wang, we say thank you. We hope you enjoy this webinar, and we invite you to come to Tennessee and want you to know that we are open for business and look forward to building a great partnership between Taiwanese companies and the state of Tennessee. Many thanks.
Great. So that concludes the remarks from the Commissioner. Now we're going to launch into recorded remarks from the Wang Mei-Hua, the Minister of Economic Affairs for Taiwan, on understanding the trajectory of the U.S.-Taiwan economic relationship and trade partnership under the newly inaugurated Biden administration. We'll welcome Minister Wang to present the recorded remarks.
Many thanks to Global Atlanta for inviting me to speak at this event, and good day to every participant to this seminar. 2020 was a difficult year for the whole world. During this time of crisis, countries around the world have been combating the pandemic and helped their citizens to get back on their feet after the economic downturn. Moreover, various kinds of vaccine have been approved and supplied. With the concert efforts of every country, we can see light at the end of the tunnel, and I hope our life can get back to normal very soon. COVID-19 has made countries to rethink the importance of supply chains, and Taiwan has shown itself as a trusted supply chain partner. For example, although the current global shortage of the auto chips is mainly caused by the misjudgment of the market trends to cancel the orders, Taiwan has committed to help this challenge. The car industry is critical to the U.S. as it employs about 900,000 workers. Therefore, the chip shortage will potentially lead to factories shutdowns, and countless families will suffer due to unemployment, which will further slow down the U.S. economic recovery as well as the global. I therefore took the responsibility and called a meeting with our foundry companies to explain the current situation. Through detailed discussion, we reached a consensus on 3 approaches to the shortage problem. Even they are already operating at the full capacity. Our foundry companies will raise capacity by improving efficiency, prioritize surplus chips for auto sectors, and coordinate with other customers on supply schedule adjustment. We hope our additional efforts will help ease the shortage. The resilience of Taiwan's supply chain network is a telling story in the auto chips and PPE shortage crisis. In both instances, our government immediately coordinated the public and private sectors to work together to increase supply of the necessary products. As a result, the production of face masks is increased in just 25 days from 1.8 million pieces per day to 10 million pieces per day. By turning crisis into a new opportunity, Taiwan is recognized globally as a reliable supply chain partner. As the global economy changes rapidly, it is just the right time for Taiwan and the United States to further strengthen cooperation. From the above examples, we can see both auto chips and face masks are small in size, yet are very important in supply chain. Similarly, although Taiwan is geographically small, it has a far larger influence on the world. Other than the auto chips and PPE, Taiwan's role as a key competitive provider of high-tech products such as ICT, car, aerospace, and heavy machinery is essential to the U.S. high-tech industries. Taiwan's semiconductor and ICT industries are reliable sources of production for many U.S. brand companies, such as Apple, Dell, HP, Qualcomm, and so on. As of December 2020, the cumulative American investment in Taiwan was $25 billion, while Taiwan's in the US was $20 billion. They are Micron, Google, Applied Materials, KLA, 3M, TSMC, Foxconn, and Formosa Petrochemical, just to name a few. Moreover, the US firms such as Micron, Google, 3M, and Microsoft have established research centers in Taiwan because Taiwan has a big tech talent pool. Taiwan's industrial structure is complementary to, rather than competitive against, Americans. That's integrating supply chains from both sides will strengthen the security of supply chains as a whole. Taiwan's strengths in the semiconductor and ICT industries are the consequences of our high-quality talents and solid intellectual property rights protection. My government also recognized that we must continuously work hard to maintain an enabling environment for innovation. This is why we focus on further developing semiconductor supply chain ecosystem to spur the 5G, AI, EV, and smart machinery sectors, all of which are industries that U.S. companies enjoy leading position globally. As for IPR, I deeply recognize that trade sectors and high-tech technique have been important assets for Taiwan and realize the importance of IPR protection for innovation. Several amendments to related Taiwan's IPR law were passed during my term as the Director General of the Taiwan Intellectual Property Office. Since the Biden administration is currently focusing on reviving the domestic economy, Taiwan's complementary role to U.S. industry will surely have positive impact on U.S. economy. Taiwan, a leading democracy and a critical economic and security partner. I quoted from the Interim National Security Strategic Guidance issued by the White House last week. Taiwan is more than willing to expand its cooperation with the new administration of the U.S. Moving forward, my ministry has identified advantageous areas, including semiconductors, ICT, AI, and other cutting-edge technologies. I would like to elaborate a little bit on two sectors, semiconductor and electric vehicles. Taking the semiconductor industry as an example. The development of critical high-tech industries, including 5G, AI, and EV, has increased the global demand for more advantage and dedicated chips. It will underscore Taiwan's global position as a leading chips producer. In terms of global market share rankings, Taiwan tops the chart regarding foundry, assembling, and testing, accounting for 74% and 56% respectively. Taiwan's IC manufacturing ability is globally renowned. The US and Taiwan hold key positions in the global semiconductor supply chain, with a vertically integrated relationship in R&D and manufacturing. Our government has decided to create a semiconductor supply chain ecosystem and establish an advanced semiconductor materials and component hub. This is an opportunity for the US and Taiwan to strengthen our partnership. Additionally, TSMC announced its decision last year to set up a new $12 billion chips factory in Arizona, which is expected to create more than 1,600 high-tech professional jobs. This is a prime example of how collaboration between the US and Taiwan in the semiconductor industry can bring about long-term benefits. As for electric vehicles, Taiwan is capable of participating in design. Tesla EV consists with the components from about 29 Taiwanese suppliers, including vehicle electronics, motors, and car bodies. Last November, Taiwan and the United States held the first Economic Prosperity Partnership Dialogue, the EPPD, and signed a 5-year MOU with a potential extension for another 5-year period. The MOU creates the foundation for further high-level annual dialogues, and both sides affirm keen interest in strengthening cooperation on supply chains for critical industries. Under the EPPD, Taiwan and the US held the first supply chain industrial roundtable on February 5th. Businesses, think tanks, and industrial associations from both sides actively participate in the discussion on how to deepen bilateral industrial links. To further expand cooperation in critical industries and establish a platform for official and industrial talks between both sides. My ministry will continue to organize a series of roundtables for critical industries such as electric vehicles and 5G. Today, I'm more than happy to see Global Atlanta holding this seminar. I'm also confident that the world will strongly benefit from continued Taiwan-US cooperation on innovation, as extraordinary ideas would originate from our industries, academia, and research sectors, from brainstorming and working together to solve difficulties. Let me reiterate that Taiwan is strong in high-tech capabilities, and the development of global technology certainly needs Taiwan participation. As noted in State Secretary Blinken's praise for Taiwan and in the Senior Director Peter Harrell's statements. Of course, also in the White House National Security Strategic Guidance, Taiwan is an important partner for the United States, and the talks between both sides were constructive. Taiwan and the US and the world are interdependent. We need each other to move forward. Last year, Taiwan's economy grew 3.11%, despite the severe pandemic. This year, we expect to jointly work with the like-minded nations, like the US, to promote a fast recovery of the global economy during the post-pandemic period. My colleague in Atlanta also participated in this seminar, to know your views about cooperation between Taiwan and the United States as reference for further collaboration between our governments. To conclude, I would like to wish today's event a great success and all guests and participants a most rewarding and enjoyable experience. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Economic Minister Wang, and for everyone who helped us coordinate the production of the video. That was quite a feat, and we got it pulled off. So we really appreciate those remarks, and I think that sets the stage really well for our broader discussions. Right now, I'm going to ask Dr. Peter Tsai to come on. You heard about Dr. Tsai and the remarks from the Tennessee Economic Commissioner. Peter, if you might bring your video on and get start getting your presentation queued up, that would be helpful. Should be in the top right of your screen, and hopefully we'll see you in just a moment. But Dr. Tsai.
I'm trying to turn the video on, but I cannot do it. I think you need to allow me to do it. Okay, it's there now.
Okay, good. Well, as we, I don't know if you can go ahead and, if you want to go ahead and pull up your presentation as well while I'm giving a quick introduction. Dr. Tsai really needs not that much of an introduction at this point. He's well known for having come out of retirement to be rehired as a professor at the University of Tennessee in material science and engineering. He has a number of patents, publications, presentations, including what we just heard about, his invention of the material that goes in the N95 masks, and he's going to be telling us about that. But he's given more than 50 interviews since his coming back from retirement over the past year. And Dr. Tsai, we're so glad to have you, and looking forward to hear what you have to say.
Okay, can you see my slide?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, we can start. Okay, thank you for the introduction, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to give you a talk. My topic today is masks for the protection against COVID-19. I will be talking about masks in the respirators, mask materials, shelf lifetime, sterilization, and how the N95 can protect us against COVID-19. These are masks. The masks on the left side are respirators. Respirators are masks that have good tight, that have tight fit. So N95 is a respirator, and a respirator with an exhalation valve cannot be used in epidemic application, because the virus is exposed from the exhalation valve will be concentrated on a spot. Now the infected person will get infected from that concentrated spot. And the masks can be cloth mask or surgical mask. A mask does not have a tight fit. It has loose fit. Masks can be for general use. Sometimes there are no specifications, so it can be good or it can be very bad. And specifications for medical masks in the US are ASTM 2100, and the newest version is 2019. And respirators for COVID-19 in the US, it is N95, the FFP3 in Europe, KN95 in China, KF94 in Korea, and I proposed Taiwan to have TN95. N95 is certified by NIOSH according to Title 42 CFR Part 84. Challenge using sodium chloride submicron particles having number average size of 0.07 micron. And the size of a virus, of a coronavirus, is 0.1 micron. And viruses are carried by droplets that are much greater than 0.1 micron. So N95 has good capability to block a majority of the coronaviruses. There is a label on the box of a medical mask. Like this one is ASTM level 3, and the specifications are ASTM F2100, as I mentioned just now. Each N95 respirator has a label. It says NIOSH N95, and it has a TC number. This is a way to tell if a N95 is a counterfeit. And all the surgical masks in the N95 respirators are made of male-born electrode, and the cloth masks are not. This picture shows how a male-born fabric is being made. After we make the male-born fabric, we need to do the charging to make an electrode to increase the filtration efficiency. For example, for an N95 media, before charging, the efficiency was about 37%. After charging, the efficiency went up to about 99%. That is 10 times higher than the uncharged one. And for a medical mask, the uncharged, the efficiency was 16%. After charging, efficiency went up to 82%. How N95 can be used to protect us against COVID-19? That is a theory of air filtration. Many people think that in order to block or to capture a particle, the pore size, that is the distance between two fibers, needs to be smaller than the particle. That is filtration by sieving. That is a liquid filtration mechanism. But it is not true for air filtration. This SEM image shows that the particles are adhered to the surface of the fibers. So in air filtration, the particles are attracted by the surface of the fibers, not are blocked by the pores of the fabric. If there is a need to reuse the respirator, then we need to do the sterilization. There are 4 key issues to hold, to sterilize a respirator. The charges need to be retained, and the method need to have the ability to inactivate. And after the inactivation, the respirator integrity need to be maintained. That means it should not be composed or deformed. And the residue after the sterilization should not be harmful to our health. 4 ways that are validated by NIH: vaporize hydrogen peroxide, UVC at the wavelength of 254 nanometer, 75% ethanol. This is a kind of alcohol. And the heat treatment at 70 C for 60 minutes. I need to point out that ethanol can inactivate COVID-19, but ethanol cannot be used to sterilize N95 because ethanol or alcohol will erase the charges. Then the efficiency will be reduced to uncharged media. The survivability of the virus is different on different surface of materials. This is a paper reported in New England Journal of Medicine. For example, 4 hours on the surface of a copper, 24 hours on cardboard, 2 days on stainless steel, and 3 days on plastic surface. So N95 is a kind of a plastic material. So I proposed in April last year, we can reuse N95 after 4 days after its use. And last year sometime, FDA permits us to reuse N95 respirator 5 days after its use. If you have enough respirator, for example, if you can use 7 respirators and mark them as Sunday, Monday, Tuesday to Saturday, then you use a respirator according to the day. So each time when you use the respirator, it will be 7 days after the use. For an authentic respirator, the heat treatment at 70°C for 24 hours, the charge decay is from 99% to 98.5%. That means the degradation of the charges is only 0.5%. In this case, the shelf lifetime of an N95 respirator can be over 10 years. For example, this is an N95 respirator I received from a customer in April last year, that is 2020. So the expiration date is April 2029. The warranty of the shelf life is 9 years. If you use a mask, then its capability to contain the virus is 42%, like this one from CDC. If the mask is knotted and tucked, like the one on the right side, then its capability to contain the virus is 63%. If you put a cloth mask over a surgical mask, then its capability to contain the virus is 93% because the edge is shielded. If a mask is knotted and tucked, like the one on the right side, then the protection of an infected person is 96%. If both uninfected and if both uninfected and infected persons wear the mask, and if you put a cloth mask over a surgical mask, then the protection is 6%. And this is my way to shear the edge of a mask. If you fold the edge of a medical mask over side to side, then you staple on each side. Then you expand it, it will look like this. Then you can see from this picture, the edge is well sealed. So it should have a good protection from being infected. These are the materials to make DIY mask. I think we don't have time to go over this. In 2018, I developed a nanotechnology that can achieve N95 respirator and double the breathability. So thank you for my privilege of taking your time to pay attention to my talk.
Thank you, Peter. We will we'll ask you to stop sharing your screen as we transition, and I think the tip on folding the mask right there is probably worth the price of admission today. Wish we would have known that a little bit earlier on. That's awesome, and good to know about the CDC data. My wife has been hounding me about double masking, so it's good to know that that is totally backed up by the science. Peter, if you would, I'm hoping that you can stop sharing the screen, and then maybe if you wouldn't mind dropping off, and maybe Shebnem, I don't know if you can help me get back to a neutral screen here, but we will start our panel discussion, and I'm going to ask our three panelists to come on. And I'm not going to do long introductions at all. I'm just going to launch into it because we're at 11:37 and we need to start our discussion. So I'll just briefly introduce each of you as I ask you questions. I think that's probably the best way to go. And then on the back end, we will send everyone bios and some links in the follow-up email that we send out from Global Atlanta. And we'll also try to drop the bio link in the Q&A box. I think we're just missing Dr. Wang. I'm not sure if he's able to come back on. Dr. Wang, are you able to make your video live again?
I was cut off.
We got you. Great. Thank you so much. I guess we'll just go ahead and get started. I mean, we've heard a lot so far already about Taiwan's role in the semiconductor sector and electric vehicles and other sectors that are very essential right now for the global economy and the way things are going. When the economic minister was speaking about electric vehicles in particular, it made me think a lot about what we have going on here in Georgia as we're trying to sort of upgrade the automotive sector. We're already a very strong automotive hub throughout the Southeast, but there's a lot of interest in the EV sector and a lot of investment coming in right now. From many places, especially Korea, but from other parts of the world as well. I wanted to start with John, maybe in that regard. I know that you've been increasingly involved with Taiwan over the last few years. The Chamber has signed an MOU with an export association in Taiwan. You've capitalized on the 40 plus years of sister city relationships that Atlanta has had with Taipei. Tell me a bit more about, first of all, you're Vice President of Global Commerce at the Metro Atlanta Chamber. Tell us about why you've chosen to engage so much more closely of late with Taiwan, particularly with the past 2 years or so. And what are the sectors where you see some complementarity between Metro Atlanta and Taiwan?
Well, thanks, Trevor. Thanks for having me, and thanks to the minister and Dr. Tsai for those fascinating remarks there. Yeah, I mean, Trevor, you tapped on a little bit there. The 5G. Actually, Minister Wang mentioned 5G, and you mentioned the EV. And I think that transition from, I mean, certainly the Southeast has been a strong in the automotive sector, but that transition to the EV side and everything that entails is very relevant because that's strong in Taiwan and it's strong here. And kind of do a macro thing real quick, a fundamental thing we look for strategically at the Metro Atlanta Chamber when we're doing international economic development is where are those parallels? Where are those strengths there and here? And certainly the move toward EV with our Curiosity Lab in Peachtree Corners, for example, and the new 5G incubator put in place by T-Mobile, that's a great example of where some of that synergy could be. But some others I think are interesting as well. When I was there recently, the kind folks in Taipei City showed me their great advances in smart cities technology, which of course is related to what we're talking about. Another would be in Hsinchu, just south of Taipei, very strong in biotech and biomedical, another strength we have here in Atlanta. So interestingly, the largest Taiwanese company in place now, of course, is Maxxis Tire here in Georgia and Metro Atlanta. But I think the opportunity to expand beyond that traditional automotive side into some of these newer technologies is ripe. And I would close out really with saying Minister Wang pointed out, interestingly, she pointed out in her remarks, Microsoft and Google both making major investments in Taiwan. Well, of course, anyone who's read the news here lately sees that Microsoft and Google as well are making major investments here in Metro Atlanta. So for the same reasons they find the strengths in Taipei and Taiwan, they find the strengths here in Atlanta. And again, there's that opportunity for that synergy. So we're seeing a lot of that going on, and I think that's what's there. As far as IEAT, real quickly, you did mention that. I would be remiss if I did not thank them very sincerely, Secretary General Peter Wang with the Importer-Exporter Association of Taipei, IEAT. They have gifted 10,000 masks to the Metro Atlanta Chamber during the pandemic. We're sincerely appreciative of that. We have distributed those to our partners throughout the area where they're most needed. But again, that's a great example of that partnership, and certainly our appreciation to Taipei and to IEAT in particular for that.
Great. Thanks, John. And I wanted to bring in Dr. Yeen on this. Dr. Jeffrey Yeen, he is with Sycamore Ventures as managing partner of the IoT Internet of Things Fund since 2017, it looks like. And Dr. Yeen, you've got a long history as an engineer in Taiwan and as an investor from the U.S. going back into Taiwan and finding some companies in some of these strategic sectors that we've been talking about. Can you give us a little bit of an impression from your experience of the innovation ecosystem and technology ecosystem in Taiwan, and what maybe makes it distinct from your perspective?
Oh, sure. Thanks, Trevor. Again, thanks for the invitation from Global Atlanta as well as TACO for this opportunity. So I was born and raised in Taiwan. So I came to Georgia Tech at late 90s. Got my degrees in mid 80, I'm sorry, and got my PhD degree in the mid 90s. So I spent a lot of years in the U.S. in the semiconductor industry until 2007. Got an opportunity in Taiwan I couldn't refuse, and I stayed there for 10 years until 2018. So this is my second time coming back to Atlanta. I just feel like coming home. So over the last 5-6 years, I did have an opportunity to act as both an angel investor as well as a venture investor in Taiwan. So the question that you asked, Trevor, is a great one. I think Taiwan has a lot of good foundation. I think Minister Wang mentioned a couple of key points. First of all, is the talents. Frankly speaking, if there's no talent, there is no industry in Taiwan. And second thing is the supply chain. I think the supply chain in Taiwan, obviously we know all the big companies, TSMC,
right.
Pegatron. But I also want to mention over the last 10 years when I was over there, I was really delighted to find out that there are so many what we call unsung heroes or hidden champions over Taiwan and across different industries. And those are the ability and the power that drive the supply chain in a way that we cannot imagine if we don't understand it. So I think there is one characteristics about the supply chain is they are small to mid-sized family-owned companies that are very flexible. So, case in point, Tesla, we know Tesla right now, dominate the EV industry, but probably not a lot of people understand that Tesla actually sourced close to 50% of the technologies, especially early on from Taiwan supply chain. And that's something that I think Taiwan can be very proud of. And I think that's one of the reasons, as John and Minister Wang mentioned, that EV is absolutely one of the best field that will propel the growth for Taiwan industry. So and because EV has the electrification part, right, electronic part, which plays extremely well in the Taiwan industry. So I just want to Yeah, I'm sorry, Trevor.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you on that. You're kind of bringing up a perfect example of the question that I was going to ask, because you talked about Tesla, which has obviously leapfrogged all these very established automakers in terms of valuation based on its supposed future potential. And
Right.
they've done really a great job at creating a new category almost. I mean, the EVs were there, but they weren't in the public consciousness like they are now. And I wonder if you have any thoughts about how Taiwanese companies are trying to become less of unsung heroes and more just heroes, because it seems to me that we think of Taiwan as supplying components or being part of a supply chain or being part of the mix or having these small family-owned companies. But, we know that there are some huge, huge companies there. I mean, we wouldn't have iPhones without Foxconn, right? We wouldn't have navigation without some of the things that are being done in Taiwan. So where's that point where Taiwan is able to shift from part of everybody else's story to being the center stage performer?
So instead of Tesla or other EV manufacturers going to Taiwan to find out those hidden champions, I think we could do the other way around, right? How do we promote those hidden champions in the U.S., in Metro Atlanta? I think a couple years ago I attended a seminar hosted by TECO, doing exactly the same thing. They invited a group of Taiwanese manufacturers and the businessmen from the automobile industries, and for exactly the purpose to promote and to communicate their capability. So I think that's a very good channel, utilizing the relationship that we already built on in terms of between TECO and the local government here. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And I'm sorry to keep jumping around, but definitely want to get Dr. Wang involved here as well, Dr. Sue-ling Wang, who's with color imaging, a specialist in what is it, chemistry that you have your PhD in? Chemical engineering, got it. And Dr. Wang is part of the supply chains, has a lot of manufacturing around Asia and also here I think in Norcross, and part of that family-run company story as well. I remember you were so gracious in allowing me to visit one of your family's factories in Taichung quite a while ago. So I still appreciate that, and it gave me an up-close view of Taiwanese manufacturing prowess. But tell us a bit about your most recent appointment. I think we need to talk about that. You're appointed as president of the incoming president of the Global Taiwanese Chamber. And, chambers can be a dime a dozen here, but I think in this case, Taiwan has done a great job at, keeping its diaspora connected. And I wanted you to tell us a bit more about that organization, what that will mean for you and for Atlanta as you become president.
Taiwanese Chamber of Commerce consists of, we have 6 chapters on 6 continents, namely North America, Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, and Oceania. Totally, we have about 10,000 Taiwanese merchants around the world as our member. In North America is the biggest one, which we have about 30 chapters. I was the president of North America in 1996, and it just happened to be the Olympic in 1996 here. So we enjoyed and we had a lot of good times. And this year I'll be take over as the president in September of this year, and we expect to have 500 guests to be here in next March to have our overseas board meeting, and 500 people will come from around the world, and we would like to use the opportunity to introduce Georgia and South America, Southeast America, to the worldwide peoples from every corner of the earth. And we are going to have tour so they can enjoy, and we are trying to have them stay in a hotel next to the the Coca-Cola headquarters.
Yep.
Yes, and so they can enjoy the also the fish tank, the big fish tank, which we
the aquarium.
Those four big fish came from Taiwan.
Yeah, the whale sharks are Taiwanese citizens. I think.
Yes, and that was the last time we catch. Okay. So and business wise, we would have to have a lot of seminars. We can introduce the Southeast East of Malacca to the worldwide Taiwanese, and we would be very happy to invite everybody to join us.
Yes.
And yes, and my term will be only 1 year, so I'm retiring. But this will be the last meaningful things I'll do for the Taiwanese and for American and for the world. So I'll be very happy to see you there. Thank
Definitely.
you.
And we're looking forward to that, and hopefully, everything with COVID will have at least be somewhat behind us, and this in-person visit can happen without incident. And I know John will be there and ready to welcome those Taiwanese companies. I want to remind everybody there's a Q&A box that should be on the side of your screen. I'm loaded with questions, but we've got 8 minutes left. We have all of the panelists available, as well as Dr. Tsai is available, and we also have the Director General from the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office, Elliot Wang, who's also available for questions. So take advantage of this panel here. Again, I've got enough to keep us for another 30 minutes, but I won't. Actually, the first question that's come through in the Q&A was something that I wanted to pose to Dr. Wang anyway, so I think I'll take the prerogative here and ask it. But Selena Chun is asking, given the trend to diversify away from China to other countries in Southeast Asia, how is Taiwan positioning itself in global markets? How will its competitive strength be assured with the current geopolitical situation? And I'm assuming she means U.S.-China tensions that seem to be enduring even post-Trump administration. Dr. Wang, I know that you have you've moved some of your manufacturing to other parts of Asia. I wanted to know if you wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Okay, first of all, you will understand most of the question just by giving you some number. 25 years ago, I started my first factory in China. At that time, the pay of Taiwan is 12 times of China. At that time, the pay of America is 60 times of China. Today, the pay of China and Taiwan is very similar. And the pay between China and the United States is only about 3-1. So the totally changed. The baseline totally changed. So all the calculation has to be changed. But we Taiwanese still by working in China for a long time, and then we're beginning to move to South Asia, which has much more friendly politically, financially, and so that's we're moving there a lot. I moved most of my factory from Taiwan to China to Taiwan already because of what happening.
Good.
Okay.
Well, I want to ask Dr. Yin a sort of variation on that question. Are you seeing more interest in the U.S. In Taiwan these days because they perceive the challenges to be greater in China now?
Well, good questions, because I think it is a complicated issue. I think, companies such as Dr. Wang's traditionally over the last 20 years took advantage of the opportunity in China. So right now things changed. So they moved to another place, including going back to Taiwan. But as for startups, which are the type of companies that I involve mostly, so I think they always favor other than staying in Taipei, they always have a dream their own American dream is to come to the U.S. and funded by a Silicon Valley company or a VC in the U.S. for that matter, and eventually go public in NASDAQ or something. I think that's always a startup American dream. So that trend hasn't stopped. Okay? And I think, of course, over the last 10 years, China has developed quite a capable capital system. So there are money over there, obviously. But right now, because of the political tension, people started to moving west, so to speak, back to the U.S. again. Many startups coming here, wanting about this American dream, which I think is still very valid in their life.
Nice. Well, that's great to hear. It's interesting too. I mean, we haven't really seen much slowdown of mainland Chinese firms listing on U.S. exchanges either, even with all the political tension. So obviously there's different things going on at different strata in the conversation. Yeah, exactly. We have a really interesting question I'll pose to Director General Wang. Tian Chiang asks, with Taiwan's strict guidelines on quarantine, 15 plus 7 days for COVID-19, is there a conversation on loosening the requirements for visitors who are fully vaccinated in the U.S.?
Well, the answer, yes. It's going to be shortened for the quarantine days, but we are still studying all the plans. So likely we are going to announce this new measures quite soon. So please do follow up all the information, update information on our website, TICO in Atlanta. You can get the most updated information. And by the way, the correction, right now the quarantine period time is 14 plus 7.
Okay, good. So you get an extra day. Awesome. Well, we'll try to keep people up to date on that as well. If y'all have information about that as it changes, let us know. And let me ask, maybe Director General Wang, I don't know if you need to mute your mic again, but I'm getting an echo in my ear. We've got one last question from, I think we're going to run up against our time here. But Tanya Hicks asks something that I think may be interesting for John to address, to bring him back in, because it's talking about collaborations between businesses in the U.S. and businesses in Taiwan. She says, I was invited by the U.S. State Department to attend an online meeting to encourage women businesses in the U.S. to trade with women businesses in Taiwan. Do any of you know of this initiative? Whom can we contact in the Taiwanese government? So I see this as a two-pronged question. One, John, I know y'all have done a lot of export promotion in recent years, and there's particular focus on women-owned and minority-owned businesses in Atlanta and helping them integrate with the global market. So I guess with your relationship with the Export Association in Taipei, how do you envision this playing out? And then maybe we'll have Martin close us out with some comments about how to structure this initiative. John, you start?
Yeah. Well, and real quick, I realize we're coming up. Congratulations on the who questioned her there about if you have the opportunity with the State Department to do that, certainly seize the moment and do so. That sounds great. I'm not familiar with that particular program, but as Trevor mentioned, we do have at the Metro Atlanta Chamber, the Metro Export Challenge that we do with our partners throughout the region. And there is a focus on women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses. There have been several companies in Metro Atlanta that are exporting to Taiwan, and through that program, Winton Machine, for example, out of Sewanee, has been a recent MEC grant winner that has done export work with Taiwan and some others as well. So certainly just, I'll kind of do what Director General Wang did, is check with our website or get our information from Trevor afterwards. We can certainly chat with you about initiatives that we have within the Metro Atlanta Chamber on export development, export growth, and then certainly on the WBE side, the Women Business Enterprise side. As Trevor mentioned, there are women-focused initiatives as well that we can fill you in on. But it's a right market, and I encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity.
Definitely. And Martin and Elliot, do y'all want to answer that question and close us out, maybe? Can't hear you, Martin. I think you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a very good topic. For instance, that's also the reason why today we invited our economic minister, Mei-Hua Wang, to come to speak with us. So we encourage the women's business to have a more connection with Taiwan. So if there is any need or what our office can do, we would be interested to try to link both sides, women in the business or association to talk to each other. Thank you very much.
Definitely. Director General Wang, did you have anything to say before we close it out?
Basically, there are a couple of multiple agencies in Taiwan government that are promoting the women's rights, equality, and the women movement. Talking about the women business, this might be for under the portfolio of economic ministry, and Minister Wang, the speaker just now, will be the one in charge. Anyone would like to contact the other agencies regarding this? You are welcome once again. Give us an email or call, then we will want you to locate the right agency for you and then relay you to the right agency. In the end, I want to thank everyone to join us today. This is a first big event. Our office worked on this year, and it turns out very successful. I would like to say thank you again for everyone.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Director General. I think we've got an echo again. If y'all can all mute, I'm going to close this out here. Yes, thank you, Martin. I'm going to close this out here. Thank everybody for attending. Thank all our panelists, and I'm glad we had that last question because it was a little bit too male on our panel here. It's good to have a reminder of engaging with our female partners. And I should know that every time I've been to Taiwan, particularly when I've gone to meetings at the trade ministry or things like that, there have always been women in senior positions. And as we know, Taiwan's president is a woman. And some say there's a correlation with that and how many countries have dealt with the pandemic. So we'll leave that to the social scientists. But it's a good reminder that Taiwan has been forward thinking on female leadership for a long time. I want to thank one more time the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office here in Atlanta for really inviting Global Atlanta to participate. We appreciate that. Wanted to thank the Monte-Jade Society again, the Metro Atlanta Chamber. Thank you, John. And particularly wanted to note the Atlanta Global Studies Center. Thank you so much for your help in getting this situated here on our call. And everyone should really check out what the Atlanta Global Studies Center is doing. It's a partnership between Georgia Tech and Georgia State. It's a federally funded institute that's bringing together a consortium of institutions around Georgia to improve global education in the state, and it's really a valuable resource. So we thank everybody for attending, and we will leave it there. Maybe we need another webinar on female exporters or some of these other topics that we brought up. So we'll stay tuned for opportunities to do that. Thank you so much again, and we hope to see y'all soon.